Dave Rennie has named his Wallabies squad to face the French in July. I think the words used to describe this squad by the big man himself were picking on form and potential, and I think that's pretty largely represented in the guys he's picked. It's definitely a fairly young squad. There's question marks around a couple of the players. There's certainly quite a few omissions, but we'll go through the squad, see where it's looking particularly experienced or maybe a wee bit on the other side. Where are the guys a bit young? Where is the experience at? And who was kind of unlucky to miss out? So they've gone with hookers, Kaitu'u Lonergan and Brendan Paenga Amosa. That's really quite an interesting mix for mine because Kaitu'u's your uncapped guy from the Force, and he is one of the form hookers in the competition, to be fair. He's been really, really good from what we've seen of him. Likewise, Lachie Lonergan, uncapped, been playing pretty well for the Brumbies to the point where he's kind of jostling with Fainga for that top job. And then Brendan Paenga Amosa, who's the capped guy of the three, but he's also leaving for France. So it's kind of a weird mix of two uncapped guys and one guy who's in all likelihood not going to be playing for the Wallabies for much longer. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a bit of a weird mix. It'll be interesting to see who kind of gets the top job. Brendan Paenga Amosa with the experience would seem to be the obvious candidate, but maybe Dave sees potential in the other guys to just step straight up. Props, Ala Alatoa, Bell, Fa'amusili, Sio, Slipper, and Tupou. That's kind of a bit more experience compared to everybody else in that you've only got the one uncapped guy, and that's Fa'amusili, and he has been with the Wallabies before. Tupou's getting pretty much 80-minute games with the Reds, and he's been with the Wallabies for a few years now. Likewise, Sio and Slipper have got a heap of caps, as does Ala Alatoa. It's Bell that's kind of the other guy that's a wee bit light on caps. Still needs to improve his scrummaging, but he's still very young, very good around the park. So, yeah, a bit more experience around the props. Hopefully that area of their game will be able to front up. Locks, Phillips, Salakai Loto, Swain, and Timani. Again, it's a bit of an interesting mix with those guys. Phillips been playing over in France, but he was kind of having the form of his life last year. Got his way into the Wallabies squad. So he's only on a short deal with, I think it's Pau in France. So he's on his way back, as far as I'm aware. So he's kind of earned his spot back based on the form that we saw last year. I haven't been watching him in France, but if 2020 is anything to go by, that should be pretty encouraging. Salakai Loto, lock loose forward. Probably locked based on the other picks we've got in the squad. Getting regular minutes for the Reds, very dynamic compared to some of the other guys. Timani's back in the squad after, I think they said it's 8 years absence. 34 years old, one of the most experienced guys in the squad. Big unit of a man. So bringing a bit of bulk, I would guess, to that second row. And Swain's the uncapped guy. And honestly, he has been really in top form for the Brumbies. One of the top line-out guys in the competition. Very secure pair of hands, good work rate. So I do think there's a fair bit to like about the second row. Lucy's Hooper, Leota, McCrate, Naisarani, Swinton, Valtini, Wells, and Wilson. That's why I reckon Salakai Loto has to be a lock because you got that many bloody Lucy's in Australia at the moment. Hooper is back from Japan. He'll be captain. He's still on a massive contract with Aussie Rugby, and he's just one of the best open sides in the world. He's going to be there. McCrate will be putting the pressure on him, though, because he kind of ousted Liam Wright at times, kept him on the bench. Huge work rate on him as well. Good pilferer. In an age where getting pilfers is kind of harder than it used to be. I think he's been in top form. Still pretty young man as well. Leota's been there with the Rebels as well. Didn't he play lock last week as well? But he's been pretty dynamic, so a good man to have in the mix. Young as well. Naisarani put in a good shift in front of Dave Rennie the other day. I thought he's been quiet, but he had an absolute blinder of a shift about a fortnight ago. So maybe that was enough to squeeze him in at number 8, but number 8's looking pretty crowded. Swinton is still going to be a bit of a question mark about him because he got red carded in his final game. He's got the mongrel, which maybe the Aussies are looking for in that kind of player, but sometimes his discipline just lets him down. He's definitely going to have a question mark in case he gets a long suspension. Valtini is maybe the most exciting pick of the bunch at the moment because he has been in just blockbusting form. The guy's been on the radar for a couple of years now, but he's had real injury woes for the first couple of years of his career. and he's on this really fine run right now where he's not been injured, and he's just been throwing his body into it, causing some pain, putting in big hits. He's just been playing 6 and 8 for the Brumbies, and he has just been in the form of his life. So very exciting player. Michael Wells is one of the uncapped guys. Bit of a jack of all trades guy. Good work rate, good at the line out. Good to see him get reward. I wasn't sure if he would ever make international level after kind of seeming to plateau in his career for a few years with the Tars, but he's been given a bit of a new lease on life with the Rebels. Wilson, apart from Valtini, is also the most exciting guy in the Wallabies back row. He's still very young as well and is just clocking up the run meters for fun. So there's heaps to like about the Wallabies back row. You've got a heap of tackling in there. You've got some good ball carriers. You've got some good pilferers. So it is a proper mix amongst those guys. Halfbacks, Gordon, McDermott, and Nick White. Kind of no surprises there. Gordon's been in good form, a little bit injury prone. McDermott's been still making those sniping runs for the Reds, and White is just kind of good game control with those box kicks of his. Lolesio, O'Connor, and maybe Tamua is going to flirt with 10-12, but probably 12 based on the other guys we've got. O'Connor's certainly the front runner, with Lolesio being the young backup at the moment, but that could change. O'Connor's also had a few injury woes of his own. The midfield is where it also gets interesting. You can include Tamua there. Foketi, Hodge, Ikitau, Paisami, and Parise. Parise is also potentially out injured after doing his shoulder. So we'll see if he gets along. But yeah, 3 uncapped guys with Foketi, Ikitau, and Parise as well. So yeah, there's other guys they could have looked at, but have gone with 3 uncapped guys in the mid. Paisami has been in great form for the Reds as well. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Like, I've looked at the numbers of those guys, Ikitau and Foketi, and they've both been really good at Super Rugby level. So maybe it is the time now to kind of give them a taste and see how well they step up. Outside backs, Dalgunu, Callaway, Korobete, Muirhead, Wright, and Banks. Callaway is and Muirhead, the only uncapped guys amongst those guys. Callaway has also been known to flirt with the midfield a wee bit as well. Showed some real top-end speed the other day when he ran down Will Jordan from the Crusaders, so that's good news. Dalgunu has been there and done it before with the Wallabies. A bit hot and cold, I thought, when he's played with the Wallabies before, but he's certainly a dangerous player. Korobete is surely a starter, and Wright is also very exciting. Banks has maybe got a lock on the fullback job. It's been really good to have Tom Wright back, to be fair, of all the players. Maybe he's the one I'm the most excited about. Seeing just get a bit more time in the green and gold, but Muirhead has also been known to show a few touches. Maybe not so much in recent times. Has he been injured? It's been more about Tom Wright and Mac Hansen in recent weeks, because I think Muirhead's not been in the squad. But yeah, certainly a lot of guys missed out. I know Pitaya and Vunivalu are both out injured, so they are unavailable for the Wallabies in this run. I also know Gordon's got a bit of an injury cloud, so they said Ryan Lonergan, the Brumbies halfback, is on kind of standby. So Joey Powell is obviously out in the cold. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go overseas at some point, because it seems to be a little bit out of favour with the current setup. Other guys, Isaac Rodder's back in Australia, was eligible but not selected. Pete Samu from the Brumbies, maybe a bit overshadowed by Rob Valtini, to be honest. Ulisse from the Rebels, given that they've picked 2 uncapped guys and 1 guy heading overseas, can probably feel a bit hard done by. But there's already a lot of Rebels in the squad, to be honest. Not that that should be the reason he's picking the squad. Robertson from the Force has been in good form. Fergus Lee Warner is my man from the Force. He still can't get a job with the Wallabies. I really like the guy. He's got a huge work rate, can play lock and loose forward. I mean, I can maybe see an argument. I did see it somewhere. People saying he's a bit too small for a lock. He's not the bulkiest of locks when he plays lock, and he's not. Someone said he's not the most athletic for a loose forward. So he's kind of in an awkward position where he's not one or the other. He's just kind of a jack of all trades, and because he's not a master of either, he doesn't quite fit. I don't know. Maybe that's true, but I would still like to see him in the squad to see what Dave can do with him, because honestly his work rate is phenomenal, and he's got a good old skill set. He's a very big ball carrier in terms of getting through a lot of carries, And he makes a lot of tackles, good line-out work when he's called upon to do so. So I don't know what else he has to do personally, but anyway, he's one of my omissions. Hosea from the Rebels, Udu is one that was in the squad before for the training squad, but is not called upon. I mean, honestly, I could see a case for Kyle Godwin based on what we've seen in Super Rugby Trans-Tasman, because he's kind of picked some pretty offensively sharp and young players, the likes of, Paisami is definitely more offensively minded, Ikitau, Foketi, whereas Kyle Godwin is more of a defensive guy. He's not the most creative players, but he, again, gets through a lot of work. And you need the midfield to be kind of solid defensively, so he's a guy who I could have seen in there, but maybe it doesn't fit with the way Dave wants to play based on what we've seen in the squad being, kind of young and mobile. But yeah, did I mention Simone? He's been in the squad before, but he's not called upon. I think Anstey's gone to the sevens, so he wasn't available, even though it's pretty crowded with loose forwards anyway. Yeah, tricky, very, very tricky. Liam Wright is another one from the Reds who kind of missed out. So, yeah, they're chocked with loose forwards are the Aussies. 12 Brumbies, 9 Reds, 9 Rebels, 6 Waratahs, and 2 guys from the Force. Initially, when I saw that, I thought that's a bit hard on the Force, but then you realise a lot of those key guys for the Force, like Thrush at line-out time, the 19 combo of Kubeli and Miotti, Kahui's been there, Olawafela on the wings. Like, none of these guys are eligible for for Australia. Kurandrani, I think, is definitely out of the mix now. He should probably go to Japan at some point, but he's been putting okay solid shifts without being enough to maybe make the Wallabies. But yeah, that's the Wallabies squad for 2021 mid-year games. You got Slipper, Tamani, White, and Tamua are the only guys who are 30 and above, so it's a pretty young squad. Honestly, I can see that Dave is building for the future. He's wanting to take a look at some young guys to see what their attitudes are like, to see how well they step up. You've got 21-year-olds, Lonergan, Lolosio, Bell, and Wilson, plus 22-year-olds, Valtini, Swain, McDermott, and Ikitau. So, young. Very, very young. Even though the Aussie sides have kind of been given a few hidings in Trans-Tasman, if they can get this core group of guys together and keep them largely together with just a bit of tinkering to go through to 2023, we could be looking at a better position in a couple of years. And if France send a young squad as well, that will be even more fascinating. But anyway, we will see. You guys let me know your thoughts. Would you be taking Swinton with the red card? Do you think Parise is going to have to be replaced by somebody else? Who do you think is the next cab off the rank? Remember, Pataya and Vunivalu have been pretty much confirmed they will be back in the squad once they are back fit and available. Other hookers you might have had in? Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. And, yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.